Alrighty everyone, welcome back. We are now getting closer to the official release of Mission Impossible 7 Dead Reckoning Part 1, which by the way debuts tomorrow, technically, across the entire globe, where basically everyone is going to be able to see this. Disney is going to wake up and realize exactly what kind of competitor they're facing against Tom Cruise, Skydance, and Paramount. Now, on top of the list, we do have a lot of things to talk over about because there's a lot of things going on with Bob Iger, the Disney board, and a long list of emergency meetings that they have been going through and really trying to course correct everything related to the Star Wars franchise, to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and everything moving onwards. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support, and let's get right into the subject, shall we? Now, we know a lot of things going on right now about Bob Iger and the board and exactly why there is this constant shakeup between themselves. Now, given that the board no longer trusts Iger and they want him out, and they are banking on the success and/or failure of both The Marvels, The Haunted Mansion, and a movie called Wish all together for 2023. If all three come to fail quite terribly, they are going to push him out, replace him by January of 2024. That's the game plan right now. But moving forward, away from all of this, what's even all the more interesting has a lot to do with what Bob Iger recently actually established that has a lot to do with the Star Wars franchise and a lot more to do with Lucasfilm as a whole, and exactly how it involves, of course, the cinematic universe, essentially. Now, on top of this, with both Bob Iger and the board desperately trying to save their own legacy at Disney after the failure of Indy 5's box office, one major development involving the emergency meetings that have been taking place recently is that Bob Iger is, of course, and has been making a big part of this meeting involved in a big discussion related to Star Wars and their upcoming movies, with many unannounced Star Wars movies that are now being finalized to getting cancelled and replaced with more quality-controlled movies. One major development coming out of this by Bob Iger firing James Mangold is on the table now, from, of course, the Dawn of the Jedi movie, since Bob Iger and even the board are growing very thin of confidence over his involvement with a Star Wars film, since Mangold did actually tell the public that the film most likely won't be about Jedi anyway, or even mention the name Jedi, but just focusing on Force users. The board began to realize that this holds completely nothing to the title of the movie per se, and that also they are going by his box office turnout with Indy 5. Similar to what happened with Patty Jenkins and her Wonder Woman 1984 film, and how that played a massive role in her losing her position as creator of the Rogue Squadron film for Star Wars. Now, guys, let me just say one thing about this, is that we know that Iger is in a very delicate situation right now, and there's no other way to say this, is that he really is trying to save his own legacy by appearing like he's doing the right thing, but when in reality what he is already doing right now is he's finally beginning to wake up and realize that, yeah, maybe we made a very bad mistake for the upteenth time. Let me course correct it again. It's just going to make you look like a fool, let's be honest. And everyone's very tired of all these movie announcements and then more movies getting canceled. And there's also, when we talked about this for months, that there's a long list of unannounced Star Wars movies that have been ready to be announced at D23 that were canceled and delayed to be announced until the beginning of 2024 during the first earnings call. So that showed also that they had a lot of confidence issues with the Star Wars universe and everything related to further cancellations and new green lights for the Marvel Cinematic Universe as well. So this also involves everything to do with Indy 5, the Dial of Destiny. Now, look, it makes you wonder to yourself, why do they always choose these directors and their creators that aren't necessarily fit for specific franchises, right? When you look at James Mangold, I know some people out there, say that they enjoyed Indy 5. A lot of people hated this movie thoroughly through and through. Some people are also, very much mixed. But from everyone that I've been talking to in my social circles and their social circles, they did not like this movie and felt like Mangold was not a fit as a creator for Indy 5. And that's the problem, too, with Kathleen Kennedy, is that it's also a Kathleen Kennedy problem, because she never knows quite who to choose, who's best for the role, and who's best to actually direct or write a specific, Star Wars movie, or Indiana Jones movie in this case, or a Star Wars show at times. So anyways, on top of all of this, what's interesting about everything moving onwards is that the only people that even stand somewhat of a chance right now are Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni, and Tony Gilroy. Moving on. Now, Iger and the board are set to be putting together several meetings throughout the rest of the year to fine-tune the Star Wars roadmap at last minute. They are already trying to have Lucasfilm find somebody else to take Mangold's place. However, Disney doesn't quite know how to handle informing this to the public in the coming months if they choose to fire Mangold from his movie, which is now extremely likely unless Indy 5 has a big positive turn recently. Kennedy, of course, is described to be heavily offended over Iger and the board's meeting to get rid of Mangold, since Mangold is someone that she took and looks up to and thoroughly enjoys his work on Indy 5, Dial of Destiny. However, there have been tensions rising between herself, Mangold, and others, since this all reflects on her too as well. Now, on top of the list, a part of this emergency meeting that took place recently is that they're also really trying to get rid of Taika Waititi and his Star Wars movie, and taking that too off the table. Now, I know a lot of you out there have been very much underwhelmed about Taika Waititi being involved in a Star Wars movie and why. A lot of people aren't really too fond of him. We've talked about this. Too humorous. It wouldn't really fit the Star Wars universe per se. And so I think what they really need to do is that they actually have to either A, get very experienced writers, which, by the way, is what they have been trying to do with some of the unannounced Star Wars movies that are now being, shifted around and completely, reorganized for the roadmap. But the other thing, option B should be, is they could always find more talented writers out there that maybe aren't getting the recognition that they need. Maybe research or investigate a little bit more into their work and what they are able to do that's kind of similar in tone and similar in genre. That's really what you have to aim for, right? Somebody like James Mangold is better fit for his own stuff, just like how anybody else is, right? And so that's why I think Star Wars has a lot of failures. It's not all 110% Kathleen Kennedy, even though it 100% is, but most of it is. A lot of it has to do with her decisions and how that passes down to the creators getting offered these jobs that they're really not fit for. So Bob Iger really here is trying to fix that mess, and this is obviously pure damage control between himself and the board and others, and they really don't know what to do in the long run. They are basically in this phase of panic, and they have to get things rolling as fast as possible. So again, like I said, guys, it's interesting to see where this is all going to go come the fourth quarter of 2023, leading into the first quarter of 24. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys next time.
From night to moon we hear them moans again.